Hi guys, in this video we will be going through how to check your protocols for errors. For this example, I'll be using a simple protocol prepared earlier. It is important before executing any protocol that you check for errors, as these may prevent the protocol from running. There are three types of errors: red errors, yellow warnings, and blue messages. A red error identifies an issue that will prevent the full protocol from being executed. This error must be resolved before the protocol is executed. Yellow warnings identifies an issue that may cause the protocol to run in a suboptimal way, for example, aspirating air into the tips rather than liquid. Blue messages provides the user with guidance about the step, for example, potential contamination issues will be highlighted here. Although a protocol will run that contains yellow warnings and blue messages, it is important to check these and ensure these have been considered before executing the protocol for the first time. The steps section of the overview area will show a red error tag or yellow warning tag to the right of any step containing these errors. In this protocol, step 2 currently contains an error, as does step 5. To learn more detail about the errors in a protocol, you can navigate to the errors section of the overview area. Let's do that now. Some error messages have a link to the step that it is associated with. Clicking on this will highlight the relevant step in the protocol. Let's start with the red errors. We can focus on the red errors by deselecting the warnings and the messages. The first error is associated with step 2. We can see step 2 is a pipette head copy step. This step requires tips to be loaded and 2 well array assets to be added to the step, one to aspirate from and one to dispense to. Checking the error, we can see in this case the destination well array has not been set. I can add this by dragging and dropping the desired well array to the step. You can see this clears this error from the error menu. However, step 5 contains an error which we need to resolve before we can execute this protocol. Step 5 is a dispense head step. This will require a reservoir to aspirate from and a plate to dispense to. Although these have both been added to the step, we can see the reservoirs we want to use have not been assigned in the reservoir asset. I can add this by selecting the reservoir asset and specifying R1 and R4 in the properties area. There is still one error preventing us from executing this protocol. This is because we still have tips in the head at the end of the protocol. Step 4 is unloading old tips and loading new tips, but we just need it to unload tips. Let's change this in the steps property. I can do this by selecting the step and changing the behavior property to unload only. This removes all the red errors from the protocol and allows us to execute a protocol. Before we execute a protocol, we need to check the yellow warnings and blue messages. Let's select these again now. Let's look at the new yellow warnings in this protocol. This warning message relates to volumes used during step 2 of the protocol. The warning tells us we have not added sufficient volume to our source wells, or that the volume being copied is too large. Let's take a look at the properties of the well array asset source by clicking on the asset in the asset area. We can see that the starting volume per well property is currently set to 0. Let's adjust this to 50 microliters per well. We can see this resolves our warning. Finally, let's look at the blue messages. This message is telling the user that these tips have already been used before this step, and that this may cause a contamination issue. In this case, this is not a concern, as the tips were used to transfer the liquid that is now being mixed. We can leave this without an additional tip change. Once you have resolved all the red errors and checked all the yellow warnings and blue messages in the errors section, make sure you save your protocol again using the save icon on the menu bar. The protocol is now ready to execute.